Hey y'all, I'm Hope. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my December TBR. I've been eagerly anticipating making this video because I'm participating in Reindeer Readathon again this year, which, if you're not familiar with it, is a competitive team-based readathon hosted by Eric over at Break Even Books, and I'll link his announcement for the readathon in the description. That's the word I want. In the description down below, so that you can check that out. But this is a really cool readathon that's been hosted for the last 5 years. This is their 5th year, and it's so much fun. I think I've done it for the last 2 or 3 years, and I've had a great time every time. I've read so many books in December. It's been a great way to kind of catch up on my goals, so I'm super excited to be participating again this year, and I'm going to be on Team Stocking this year, which I've never been on Team Stocking before, so that's fun. So that is what I'm going to be going through today. I'm going to be looking at all of the prompts for that readathon and telling you what I'm hoping to read for those, and I'm excited, so let's just go ahead and dive in because I have quite a stack sitting over here. So the first prompt is Dasher, read a book whose title contains one of the first 5 words you find in the word search. This year on the prompt sheet there was a word search, and the idea was to search for 5 words, and of those 5, find a book with a word in the title. I think I've just explained it twice, but you get what I mean. Anyway, up here, probably already playing, you will see me doing the word search. I just did this on my iPad and recorded it so that I could have proof. These were the first 5 I found. So one of the words I ended up getting was power, and I've decided that for that one I want to read A Power Unbound by Freya Marske. This is the 3rd book in the Last Binding trilogy, which is a series of fantasy romances set in Edwardian England, and I really like these because they do a good job of blending mystery and romance and fantasy elements and keeping the stakes feeling real and significant, but not over the top. I read the first book in the series and absolutely loved it. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's just beautifully written. The characters and the characterization is wonderful. The writing is really lush and lovely, and I'm just very excited to be diving back into the series. I'm currently planning to read A Restless Truth, which is the 2nd book in the series, this month, here at the end of November, so that I will be prepared to read this one in December, but I'm so excited to be getting to both of them, and I wanted to get some fantasy romance in for December because I want some things that are going to be kind of cozy and fun. So I think this is going to be a perfect pick for the month, and I'm excited it's the first thing on my TBR. This also establishes a bit of a pattern for me. A lot of my picks this month are going to be continuations of series that I've been wanting to get to and finish, so you're going to notice that as I go through the rest of the books. The second prompt is Dancer, read a book with a title that has at least 5 words in it, and I've chosen Our Lady of Mysterious Ailments by T.L. Huchu, which is the 2nd book in the Edinburgh Nights series. This one is following Europa Moyo, who is a ghost talker, and she basically delivers messages for ghosts. At the start of this book, her business is kind of on the rocks because of the events of the first book, and so here she is going to investigate to try and earn some money. She's going to investigate a young man who has fallen into a coma, and she goes to the all-boys school he attends to kind of figure out what's going on. It sounds like it's going to be super creepy and super fun. I loved the first book in this series. I think Ropa's a really fun protagonist and has a really unique perspective on the world, and I'm just very excited to be diving back into this series. This one's also going to be fulfilling a bonus prompt for me. There are 5 bonus prompts this year that you can stack alongside the main prompts. You can only use each one once. But this one is going to be fulfilling the Christmas Carols prompt, which is to read an audiobook, because I'm going to get the audiobook from my library and read this that way. Next up is Prancer, read a book set in a place you have never been, and I've chosen Our Violent Ends, which is set in Shanghai. So this is the end of a duology that is inspired by Romeo and Juliet. I read the first book and really enjoyed it, and then I heard a lot of mixed reviews on this one, and I really don't remember enough of the plot to know what this is about, so I've been kind of putting this book off for a while. But that means it's also fulfilling a bonus prompt for me because one of the prompts is to read a book that has been on your shelf or TBR for a long time. So it's the Christmas Elf prompt. So I'm going to be using this for that as well. It's just one that I've been putting off because I'm not sure if I'm going to like it at this point, but I would love to get it finished and kind of take it off my TBR and have a sense of whether I want to keep these on my shelves or not. The next prompt could equally have worked for that book, but I've chosen something different for it, because the next prompt is Vixen, a book you've been putting off, and I've chosen Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I've been putting this one off for kind of opposite reasons of Our Violent Ends. So many people love this book that I'm a little concerned it's not going to live up to the hype for me, but this one was gifted to me last year at Christmas, and I really want to go ahead and read it, especially since the prequel has just come out or is about to come out. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a perfect cozy book for Christmas time. I just am a little nervous that I'm not going to love this as much as everybody else does, but I think I need to just stop putting it off and actually pick it up, and it's so short too. It'll be a nice one for just a cozy evening. The next prompt is Comet, Read a book that starts with the same letter as your star sign. This one I found a little bit difficult to find something for because turns out I don't have a lot of books that start with C. I'm a Capricorn, and I was struggling to find something. But I remembered that in the announcement, Eric said we could use or ignore determiner words. Like, you could have the word like the or a or one of those at the beginning of the title and then use the first letter of the next word. So I'm going to be reading The Christmas Appeal by Janice Hallett, which also works perfectly because it's going to be a Christmas book. This one is a mystery that follows off of the end of The Appeal. Mysteries set in a small town, and they're told through the emails sent between members of a theater group. I loved the first book. You're going to hear that a lot too. I love the first book I read in this series. I really enjoyed The Appeal. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a really unique format, and I'm excited to dive back into the world of The Appeal and this particular group of theater goers, or theater players, I guess, in this particular theater group, because there's some like really fun dynamics there, and I really enjoyed the format that was told in, so I think this one's going to be a really fun Christmassy book. Next up is Cupid, which is to read a book with multiple POVs, and I've chosen Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, which is yet another series I want to continue. This is the second book in the First Law trilogy. I read the first book back in January, or rather I started the first book back in January with the intention of following along with the Catch Up Book Club, who were doing a First Law along and reading all of the First Law universe. And I managed to read about half of The Blade itself in January, and then I didn't finish it until like August or September. So I've been putting this one off in the last couple of months because I wanted to give myself a little space from this series since it took me so long to read the first book. But now I'm ready to dive back in, and I really like all the characters in here. This is a grimdark fantasy series, and it's very different from other things that I've read. So I think this is going to be nice for kind of like mixing up the tone of what I'm reading in December, but also I've just been enjoying the characters in this a lot. It's a very plotless series. You're just kind of following these different characters who are kind of being pushed around like pieces on a chessboard, and they kind of can't see everything that's going on. And then I think as the reader you see all of the different pieces being pushed around, but you don't necessarily know who the players are. And I'm just finding that a really fun reading experience, and I'm excited to dive back into the series. Then we have Donner, which is to read a book with multiple animals on the cover, and I've chosen Mammoths at the Gates by Nevo for this. This is the fourth book, I believe, in the Singing Hill cycle of novellas. These are all fantasy novellas about storytelling, following the cleric Chi as they and their bird companion Almost Brilliant are traveling around this kind of fantasy land collecting stories from different people. I really love every book in this series. They've all been so much fun and really like poignant. So I'm really excited to be getting to this one. I meant to read it back when it released in like September, but I ended up being really busy and I didn't get to it, so I'm going to be reading this for this prompt. Works out well for me though because I don't have a lot of books with animals on the covers, so I needed something for this and it worked. So this is also going to be fulfilling the Christmas Lights bonus prompt, which is to read an ebook because I have this one as an ebook. The penultimate prompt was Blitzen, roll a die for minimum page count. So the idea was that you had to roll a d6 and then multiply whatever number you got by 100 to get the minimum page count for whatever book you were going to read. And me being me, I rolled a 6. So I need to read a book at least 600 pages long, and I've chosen Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I started this book 2 years ago, and now I really need to restart it because it's got a fairly large cast, and while I remember the gist of the plot, I don't really remember most of the characters. So I'm going to be restarting this one. I read about 200 pages. A little bit annoying, I have to restart it. But I'm going to restart this one and hopefully finally read it this year. I started this at like Halloween time 2 years ago in 2021, and it's time for me to finally get this off of my TBR. There's also a sequel coming out in February, so I want to go ahead and read this and have a sense of whether I'm interested in the sequel or not. Also, before I forget, this is going to be fulfilling the Christmas Star bonus prompt, which is to read a book over 500 pages. Conveniently, I already had to read a book over 500 pages, so it worked out pretty well for that. And finally, we have Rudolph, read a book that was written before you were born, or a book that was published in 2023. And I have chosen A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. I don't often read plays, so this is also going to be fulfilling the Christmas tree prompt for me, which is to read a book you wouldn't normally reach for. But this one was obviously a long time ago. Back in the 1600s, or possibly late 1500s, this was published, so well before I was born. And I don't often read plays, but I have a little collection of Shakespeare plays kind of up on this like top shelf that I've been meaning to get to, and I have an audiobook for this, so I know it's going to go fairly quickly. But I do like Shakespeare when I read them, I just don't make time for it usually. I usually end up reading them because I've been assigned to read a Shakespeare play, so I think it'll be fun to be reading this one kind of on my own time and in my, and not analyzing it in the same way that I would. I actually bought this. Actually, I had a copy from like ages ago. And then I bought a new copy because I thought I was going to have to read it in a class last fall. And then I got assigned to a group that didn't read this particular book. We read The Fairy Queen instead. So this has just kind of been languishing on my shelves for years, and I'm excited to finally get to it, especially because I've kind of overcome my fear of Shakespeare. So I'm excited to be diving into this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So those are all the books I'm going to be reading for Reindeer Readathon, and I cannot wait to be diving into them. There's also another readathon I want to participate in, but it is a Patreon only readathon, so I don't really have anything picked for that. There's a lot of overlap with the prompts for that and the books that I already want to read. So I'm just gonna kind of dive into that one as I go. But my priority for December is to read as many books as I can for Reindeer Readathon. If I finish everything I have here, I could also do one more book for the Slaying It bonus prompt, where you can read one prompt a second time for extra points. But I think it's going to be a miracle if I get through all of those, so I'm just gonna try and read as many as I can, and we'll see what I actually get to. But I'm very excited. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm still like in shock that we're at the end of the year already, because it feels like 2023 has just raced by. It's really weird for me too, because I'm approaching graduation for my master's degree. I just have one more semester left. I need to finish expanding my second thesis, and I have like 2 more electives to do, and then I'm done. So like it feels very weird for me to be at the end of 2023, about to enter the beginning of 2024, and it's like just like a big life change time for me. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and let me know down in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.